What's up, guys? In this video, I'm going to tell you about 5 interesting social dynamics that I learned after working for almost a decade in retail. Okay, now these social dynamics, or this is specifically about group dynamics, right? How groups interact with one another. This is specifically, this mainly has to do with women and also in a sales context, right? However, if you're intelligent, you can map these concepts over to other areas, maybe like your dating life or, other sale, like business life or going to parties or something like that. Okay, so let's take these one by one. The first one is let's talk about the mother-daughter, right? The mother-daughter dynamic is very interesting, right? When you're working in the mall and you're doing kiosk sales like I was doing, the mother-daughter combo is it's kind of like a layup, right? If the mother, why is it a layup? Because it's very easy to impress younger girls with product demonstrations. And once you have one person in the group who's impressed, the other people in the group, regardless of whether or not they like you or they like the product or you start off on the right foot with them or not, they're going to be more interested in what's actually going on. You score a couple points with them, so to speak, even if everything else in the demo has kind of gone wrong. So basically the process for, let's say, winning in a mother-daughter concept is like this. You want to do the demonstration itself on the daughter, and if possible, you want to stop the daughter also. Younger girls are easier to stop. They get approached less often in sales contexts because who's going to try and sell something to a 16-year-old? It never happens. Whereas if you have a mother who's in her 40s, in her 50s, maybe she's got a Louis Vuitton bag, maybe she's got nice jewelry, she obviously puts a lot of effort into her hair and makeup, she's seen as kind of like a very attractive customer to have if you can actually get her. So you stop the daughter, you sit her in the chair, you start doing the demonstration, and like I said earlier, younger girls are they're easier to impress just in general because they're younger, they haven't seen as much as older people have seen, and they're kind of just enjoying being entertained. Whereas the mother, for example, she's seen tons of sales demonstrations, lots of people have tried to sell her things before, and she's just kind of been around the block, and I don't want to say she's bitter, but she's just not as easily impressed as the daughter. So what happens is when you actually show something on the daughter and she starts getting impressed, the mother gets impressed as well, and then you can kind of shift the conversation to the mom to start talking about price and negotiating on the price. So that's the mother-daughter dynamic. And a good way, I could go into this video, I could make 10 videos on this topic, but a good way to kind of close the sale, so to speak, because in all likelihood, if it's a mother-daughter, the mother is going to be the one who's paying for it, is you can either give the mother something, right? A lot of the times we'll do like a 2-for-1 deal. If you buy this for your daughter, I'll give this one to you, for example. Buy this for your daughter and I see your hair is like a little bit dry. You can give her maybe some shampoo or something like that, or conditioner, whatever. Basically, you want to give her something so that she doesn't only feel like she's buying something for somebody else. She's also getting something for herself. That's the mother-daughter combination. Okay, now the second dynamic that I think is very interesting is the boyfriend-girlfriend or husband-wife. There's a little bit of difference between a boyfriend-girlfriend, husband-wife, but not so much. So let's just call this boyfriend-girlfriend, right? What happens is, or one man, one woman, you end up stopping the woman, she sits in the chair, and what ends up happening is you see a lot of plausible deniability, right? You're doing the demonstration on the woman and she feels that she kind of is allowed to react more positively to what you're showing her because she has her boyfriend there, and it's not her fault, right? She has plausible deniability. If he says something to her like, "Why'd you stop?" She can just blame you, like, "Oh, he stopped me, he told me to come, blah, blah, blah. Why did you, do this?" And basically she can just blame it on the salesperson. So because she has this plausible deniability, you have to kind of structure the sale in a way, whatever the sale is in your case, you have to structure the sale in a way that she is able to maintain that plausible deniability through the entire interaction. So normally what this means in most cases is that you have to figure out a way for the boyfriend to actually buy it for her without making it seem like it was her idea. Okay, so one way to do this, there's a couple ways to do this. One way, the first thing that you need to do is you need to establish that she actually likes the product. So you show her the product, you get a couple oohs and ahs out of her, you ask her if it works better than the one that she has. And once you get like confirmation, all this, normally, if the boyfriend is like paying attention, he'll start to kind of get interested and think in his mind, like, how much is it? Am I actually going to buy this right now? And a lot of the times what he'll do, unfortunately, is he'll ask his girlfriend, he'll say, like, do you like it? Do you want it? If you want it, I'll buy it for you. I'll buy this for you for your birthday. This will be your birthday present, something like that, right? Now, what happens when this happens is that the woman wants to maintain her plausible deniability. So she can't say, yes, I like it. Yes, I want you to buy it for me, because then she loses her plausible deniability. So what she'll say, she'll give a very wishy-washy statement. She'll say, oh, if you want, it's up to you if you want to get it or not. When the boyfriend hears this, he's like, maybe she doesn't really like it as much as it seems she does. Maybe it's just this smooth talking salesman making it seem like she really likes it, but she doesn't actually, because if she did, she would tell me. Now, he doesn't really understand this plausible deniability thing, because when the boyfriend and girlfriend are behind closed doors, she acts much different than when it's a third party there who is like dominating the situation, as a kiosk salesperson will tend to do. So he's used to her, not going to say she's being a bitch, but like he's used to her being more assertive and more dominant with him, because when they're behind closed doors, that's how she asks. So he's going to think that she's not as interested as you're making it seem. So then is where the magic really comes into play, is that you have to kind of address this, and you have to say, look, she doesn't want to come out and say, I really like it, I want you to buy it for me, because, and then you don't really know like why she's not doing that. All you know is she wants to maintain the plausible deniability. But what you need to do is you need to give some options for why they came there today. So for example, you could say, listen, she doesn't want to say that, she doesn't want to tell you to buy it for her because you guys probably came here for something else. Maybe you guys came here to buy a gift for someone else. Maybe you guys came here to just walk around and do nothing. Maybe you guys recently had a conversation about how you should be saving more money, right? You want to kind of like rattle off these potential excuses, right? You want to preemptively rattle them off before they give them to you. And then what you want to do is you want to find a solution for them before they can find the solution. So for example, she doesn't want to say this because maybe you guys had a conversation, maybe you guys came here for something else, right? But if you know that she needs one, like let's say you guys, have you heard her say recently that she needs a new hair straightener? Do you know that her straightener broke? Do you know that it takes her 2 hours to do her hair with hers? And you've seen this one, you've seen how this one works, how we only had to go over it one time. I'll give you away on my whole pitch right here. And like, to be fair, these are all examples specific for this product, but regardless of whatever you're trying to convince the people of, you use the same structure and the same framework, and you can just sub in different benefits of the product or the product itself. Okay, that's the boyfriend-girlfriend dynamic. Or husband-wife dynamic. Now, the next one, the one that I think is another one of my favorites, is when you have two or more women who are all kind of friends. So let's call this a group, right? The group dynamic, when it's, well, let's start with two, okay? Because two is a little bit different than more than two. Now, the thing with two women who are more than friends, who are friends, is that one of them will kind of be the boss, right? One of them will be the one who is like more dominant in the relationship. She kind of calls the shots, that she decides where to go, she decides what they're going to do, and the other one will kind of just go along, and it's less likely for the one who's just going along to do something against what the alpha female actually wants to do. And a lot of the time, it's the, it depends. Sometimes the bossier one will actually sit in the chair. But in this scenario, let's say that it's the more, like the less dominant one. You have the more dominant one who's kind of standing off to the side. Now, fun fact, anytime you're doing a demo of more than one person, 99 times out of 100, or anytime you're in a group dynamic with more than one person, you always want to address the entire group, with the one exception being if there's one person in that group who's just being like a complete asshole and is killing the vibe. But we'll talk about that another time. In situations like this, where you have one person who's sitting in the chair and one person who's watching, two women, let's say, what you want to do is you always want to address the person who's just watching, and you want to say, I need you to stand right here. I need you to be my judge. Okay, we need your opinion on this, right? Because what are they thinking in their mind? They're thinking, my friend is sitting in the chair. This smooth talking salesman is trying to talk her into something, and he probably doesn't want to hear what I have to say because I already have a very low opinion of him. So they're standing there very quiet, waiting for you to try and close the sale. And then when you try and close the sale, they'll say, come on, Jenny, let's think about it a little bit and walk around. So what you want to do right away from the beginning is you want to preempt that. And you want to start talking to the person who's not in the demo, arguably talking to them more than you actually talk to the one who's in the demo themselves. And you say, I need you to be my judge. Okay, now this is, again, applicable for like any sales situation, but specifically when it's two women, women are very risk averse. They're much less likely to actually make a decision to do anything unless everybody else in the group thinks it's okay, or thinks like they don't want to get flack from anybody in the group at a later on. So you say, listen, I need you to be my judge. You do, show her a couple pieces in the demonstration, and always throughout the demo, you're asking them, what do you think about this? How does this work? How does this feel? How does this look? Before you even ask the person who's in the demo. Because if the person who is standing there watching likes it, it's possible that she'll buy one also, right? Or instead, it's possible also. Just because she's not sitting in the chair and you're doing the demo on her doesn't mean that she necessarily won't buy one. So because you're addressing her the entire time, it lets the person who's sitting in the chair kind of relax. And they're thinking to themselves, hey, wait a minute, I'm sitting in this chair. How come he's not talking to me? He's just talking to my friend this whole time. I thought this was about me. And even if they didn't necessarily want to sit in the chair, because you're addressing the other person and you're talking to the other person, they start to feel, it's called a takeaway, but they feel a little bit of that takeaway. And when you take it away from them, you give them room to chase. So anyway, the point is that when you're in a conversation with two women in this case, what you want to do is you want to get the person who's not involved in the demonstration to kind of give their approval and say that it's good. There's all kinds of ways that you can do this. If by chance you have the more dominant one in the chair, it's a little bit like less important that you get the other one on your side, but it is still important. You kind of always need everybody in the group to be on your side, except for that one instance where, like I said, one person is just being a dick and killing the vibe. So the fourth situation that I think is very interesting is when you have 3 or more women. You have a big group of people who you stop to do a demonstration. Now, this requires a little bit more experience, in my opinion, but even though it requires more experience, the potential payoff of doing a big group is pretty much as big as possible, in my opinion. It's the most fun demonstration to do, and when you finish a demonstration like this, even if the sale is not for a large amount, you feel very good, because what ends up happening is when you're able to control an entire group in a positive way, in a way that you elicit good reactions from everyone in the group, which is pretty much necessary when you're selling to an entire group, everybody who's in the mall is going to see it, right? The stores that work next to you, they're going to see you, like getting everybody to laugh and doing a good job, and they see the customer buy at the end. The kiosks who are next to you will see it. The people you're working with will see it. And other customers who are walking by will also see this. And if they walk by once and they see you, doing all this crazy stuff with all this flair and making people laugh and everyone's having fun, next time they walk by, it's likely, or it's much more likely that if you approach them and you try to talk to them, they'll be more interested in talking to you. And those of you who, men of you out there, the men, like those of you who are men out there who maybe go out to like bars or clubs or parties from time to time, this is something that's especially applicable to like socializing with a lot of people. So in a group situation, you kind of need to have everybody in the group on your side. Now, if there are 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, maybe more people, this is kind of hard to do. But what you need to do is you need to pay attention to 2 people in the group, or 2 types of people in the group. Well, really actually 3 types of people in the group. The first type of person is going to be the most compliant person. Okay, now we're not talking about the person who's actually sitting in the chair. You want to look for the person who is the most compliant, right? And a lot of signs of who the most compliant person is when you call the entire group over or you address the entire group in the beginning, they're more likely, like they'll be the first one to walk up to you and they'll kind of stand at attention waiting for you to tell them to do whatever you want them to do. So you want to, number 1, like figure out who the most compliant person is. Number 2, you want to find the opposite, right? You want to find the one who's like the practical joker of the group, or the sassy one of the group, or the one who like thinks that they're secretly better than everybody else in the group, the one who's like the little smarty pants. You want to pay attention to who that person is as well. And the third person that you want to pay attention to, if it's different than those two, is the person who will ultimately be paying for it if it's not the person in the chair, right? For example, let's say you stop a daughter or a friend or something and you see the mom is there and there's a big group, maybe a couple more kids, a couple more moms. You want to know who's the mom of the person in the chair. That's kind of, optional, I guess. So when you're doing the actual demonstration, when you're talking to people, you want to find the one who's the most compliant first. And the reason you want to find the most compliant one first is because when you're doing the demo and you're showing the benefits of the product, you want to always ask them explicitly to identify what the benefit is, right? You want to kind of plant the idea in your head. So when I was selling hair products, we had, a straightener, let's say, and you do a little bit of hair with the straightener, and one of the benefits was that it would make the hair very soft. So after you do a little bit of it, you call over to the person who's the most compliant one and you say, come over here, you're my judge, I want you to feel this, right? Feel the hair, and you let her touch the person's hair. And this whole time before this, you're saying this straightener is so amazing, it makes your hair so soft and silky, and you're really building it up. And then you ask the compliant person, you say, come over here, feel this, how does it feel? And they'll say, oh, wow, it's so soft, it's so silky, because they're the most compliant one. Now, this is something that you do in a demo every single time, but when you're in a big group of people, if, for example, you ask the one who's like the troublemaker of the group to come over and feel how it feels, because they're the troublemaker, or they're the sassy one, or they're the smarty pants, they might say something like, feels like normal hair. It feels like everybody's hair when they straighten it. But because you asked the compliant one and they're already kind of on record as saying, oh my God, it's so amazing, everybody else in the group heard that. So now if the sassy one says, no, it's not that good, it's not, whatever, it's just like anything else, then they're kind of seen as like, oh, why are you like, why are you killing the vibe here? Like, why are you being such a buzzkill? So they're more likely to be compliant later on. So a little bit further in the demo, what you want to do is you want to address every single person in the group, right? So what I used to like to do, and I had a lot of experience, and with experience comes confidence, but what I would do is I would point at people in the group who maybe hadn't said anything. And I would say, you, come here. And then I would order them around and make them do things. And when you do that, and of course you need to like calibrate, you need to see if you're like on a roll with the group already. Obviously don't do anything that's like inappropriate, but saying, you, come here, do this is not really so bad. But what that would do would kind of get like everybody giggling, and it would get them to the point where when you have one person who's already compliant, and then you grab another person who's compliant, not the troublemaker, and you have them come over and do the same thing, then not only are you getting somebody else involved, but you're reinforcing the idea that the benefits that you stated were like actually associated with the product actually exist. Once you get everybody involved, you have them kind of do the same thing, then you call over to the troublemaker. And now if this troublemaker says anything other than what all of these other people already agreed that, the product does, then they're just going to look stupid and they're not going to do anything. Okay. So like I said, having a group kind of be on your side, or making an actual sale to a group, is one of the most gratifying sales that you can make, because there are so many moving parts, and because there's so many more people as well, there's more opportunities for things to go wrong. If you don't control the entire group, at any point, any one of those people can be not impressed, or can be bored, or can lose attention. And when one person leaves, it's easier for you to lose the sale. Okay, now the fifth potential group situation that I think is very interesting. Let's see, what's another one? I would say is, women with children. Well, actually, yeah, let's say women with children. There's a couple more, but let's talk about women with children. A lot of the times what you'll see is women who have children will come to the mall by themselves. Either they're a single mom, or their husband's at work and they've got the kids for the day, the kids are off school, maybe it's the weekend, and they're kind of at the mall with the kids as a way for them to do something with the kids that's active, where they can buy them a pretzel and they can go have food and the mom can go shopping, and they can do all of these things without really having to spend much money unless they want to, right? It's like a big enclosed area where they can go do stuff. They have like a kids area for the kids too, where they can ride, little stuffed animal cars, whatever. So The challenge when you're doing a demonstration to mothers who have small children or a small child is that kids are kids and they don't want to stand there and pay attention to you with your boring demo of whatever product you're trying to sell. They want to run around, they want to talk, they're going to interrupt you in the demo. You're trying to show the mom something, even if she wants to see it, and a lot of the times they do. The little kid will be like, mommy, I want a pretzel, or I have to go to the bathroom, or I'm hungry, or something, right? And you're like, shut up, little kid, like, I'm trying to make some money here. You don't actually say that, right? Sometimes the kid will just start crying, right on the spot, or sometimes the kid will start misbehaving. So over the years of me doing this, I've learned a very effective way to control children in situations like this. Number one, you use the same trick that I mentioned before. Hey, I need you to be the judge, okay? I want you to help me. I need your help here. This is very serious. And kids don't know that you're joking. If you say something with, like, the mom will know you're kidding, but you say, hey, you, what's your name? Right? You ask them what their name is. Justin. Justin, I want you to come over here, stand right here next to me, and you say it like very sternly, but with like a little bit of a smile so the mom can see that you're joking. Like, you don't want to be a dick, right? You make them stand right next to the mom, because if you make them stand over there behind the mom's going to get nervous, be like, where's my kid? So you make them part of the demo, you make them stand right there next to you, and you say, I need your help, I want you to pay attention, okay? I want you to watch what I'm doing. Because little kids are still little kids, and they still are in the habit of paying attention to what adults say. They know. I mean, if you can remember back to when you were a little kid, you were very compliant. You did everything that adults told you to do. For the most part, even if you were like a little troublemaker or like a little bad kid, or you know, a middle child, God forbid, you still pretty much did what adults asked you to do. It's just kind of how we're conditioned as kids. So the way to control them, number one, is you bring them into the demo, you make them pay attention to what you're doing, and what this will do immediately is score you points with the mom, especially if she's a single mom. No offense to any single moms out there, but I feel bad for kids who don't have a dad. Like, actually, I'm really sorry in advance of saying this, but if you don't, and it's honestly, I feel bad for some kids that have a dad too, really. Like, I feel bad for anybody who does not have a kiosk salesperson as their parent, specifically me. Okay, all jokes aside, single moms especially, are generally very frustrated with their kids. I don't want to get into the whole like societal aspect of this, but when you don't have a man in the house to kind of lay down the law and be like, you're doing this right now, I don't want to hear any mess about it. Kids, women will like yell at their kids. They're not really the best at communicating what they want them to do, because a woman's way of communication is in general more indirect than a man's. They're much more emotional. They're more prone to yell at the kids and lose their temper, whereas a man will just, like I said, lay down the law, put his foot down, and tell the kid what to do, and the kid will generally do it. It's just how we communicate. So when you make the kid part of the demonstration, or the kids, you make them stand there, you accomplish two things. Number one, the kid is visible to the mom. Number two, you've already gotten the kid to comply, which is arguably something that's very difficult for the mom to do. So then when you're showing the mom the actual product itself and the demonstration, you're engaging the kid as well. You want to ask them periodically, are you paying attention? You're paying attention, right? Now, if the kid is still like out of control, there's some little monsters out there. What you want to do is you want to say, listen, I want to give you a toy. Okay, I'm going to give you a toy. Wait right there. And you go over and you grab anything. You can literally grab anything and give it to a kid and tell the kid that it's a toy, and say, listen, I'm going to give you this toy. I want you to play with this toy. Okay, don't lose it. It's very important. I want you to hold that toy and play with it. Okay, here. What I used to like to do is I used to like to give them a calculator, because a calculator kind of looks like a toy that a kid would play with. And the calculators that we had were these cheap little 99-cent store calculators that you could throw across the room and like smash against the wall, and these things would not break. These things were like indestructible. So if you give it to a little kid, like, he can throw it on the floor, and none of them ever did, by the way. They always like sat there and like pressed the buttons on the calculator. And then what you say to the mom, you say, all right, we bought like 5 minutes right there. Let's continue. And then the kid will like keep playing with the toy, and you can move on into the demonstration. So once you I don't want to say overcome that obstacle, but if you're dealing with a single mom, or a mom who has kids, or a mom who's it's really just a mom who has kids. They don't necessarily need to be a single mom. it's very important to kind of like recognize these things and control the kid. Really what it comes down to is you want to try and control the person who is most likely to ruin the sale for you. So number 6, I wasn't going to go over this because this video is already kind of long, but number 6 is going to be when you have a group of people and there's one person in the group who's kind of like being a dick, right? Who's not interested in like what you have to say, and they're maybe actively saying things to ruin the sale for you. Now, one little caveat here, if that person happens to be the significant other of the person that you're actually trying to sell to, you're kind of screwed, right? There's not really much that you can do about it. You can try and win them over. You can say, hey, I need you to be my judge. I need your opinion on this, because a lot of the times people will ruin a group dynamic. They'll ruin a new person coming in and being popular or being cool or getting a good reaction because they feel left out. That's really what it comes down to. And when you understand that it's not that they don't like you, it's not that they're a jerk, it's not that they're a bad person, it's not that your social skills are bad either, to be fair. It's just that they see you coming in and commanding attention, and they're kind of feeling left out, and they try to ruin that as a way for them to not feel left out anymore. So what you can do, your first course of action in a situation like that, is you want to give that person more attention and you want to try to befriend them. Not in like a pathetic, like, please be my friend, sir, not like that. You want to continue with what you're doing, but you want to kind of ask them for their help or ask them for their opinion. So what I used to do is I would say, hey, you know, like, I'm glad you're here. If it was a man, right? Men are always the toughest. I'm glad you're here. I need a man's opinion on this. Or like, please, like, save me from these girls, man. I talk to women all day. I'm losing my mind. I need another man here, right? So it's like, I'm asking you for help. Please help me. You know, I need you. It's, and you, when you say that, you change the dynamic from, I'm a salesperson, I'm pressuring you to buy something, this is really good, you're gonna love it, it's so affordable for you, to like, please help me, like, I'm in trouble. And it's just kind of like a little bit of a mind trick there. So what you do is you say that, and a lot of the times what will happen is the man will begin to become compliant, because once they see that they're involved as well, and they're not just gonna have to stand there for 15 minutes, you know, pretending like, you know, waiting for the time to pass, they're more interested and they'll kind of play along, and you've kind of contained that obstacle. If they're still being a dick about it, right? You can continue with the demonstration, continue. And if they're still giving like, you know, giving you a problem, then you want to kind of like address that as well. And you can say things like, man, you know, just making a joke. Why are you killing the mood? Like, or you can say to the potential customer, like, you know, what did you yell at him before this? Like, what did you do to this guy? You know, why is he in such a bad mood? So like you are kind of taking a little bit of a risk there, because, you know, what business is it of yours what they talked about before, right? It has nothing to do with you. But in situations like this, where it's much less likely that you'll actually get what you want from the customer, because there's somebody in their group who's not complying and is not in a good mood, you have to kind of do extreme things like this if you want to have a chance. And a lot of the times, in the best case scenario, what will actually happen is the person will leave. And when you're in a bigger group, that's not just one-on-one, when you're in a bigger group and the person leaves, there's normally still enough people around for you to elicit a good reaction from, to influence the person who you're trying to get to buy something to actually make a purchase from you. Boom, baby. Was that 6? I think that was 6. So those are 6 interesting group dynamics that I learned about, and I learned how to navigate as a result of working as a kiosk salesperson. Kind of a long video compared to what I normally do, but I want to know, is this interesting to you guys? Do you care about these kinds of videos? Am I just recording these for no reason? Do you want to see more? Is there anything specific you want to see a video about? Maybe something I mentioned here that you want me to take a deeper dive into? I got a ton of stuff to talk about this. If you want, let me know, or if you don't want, also let me know. Leave me a comment. Peace.